I do want to set the record straight on a few things that the news media seem not to understand and to answer your questions as best I can. This case has been portrayed by the news media as being about race. The fact that it takes place in a small southern town lends itself to that portrayal. But this case is not and never has been about race. It is about finding justice for an innocent victim and holding people accountable for their actions. That is what it's about. Some specific aspects of this case seem not to be well understood. Let me begin with the incident involving the hanging of 3 nooses on the high school tree. This was an awful act. It was not a prank. It was a vicious and crude statement by some people that I truly wish could have been prosecuted. I searched the Louisiana statutes for an offense that fit that act. It is simply not there. It has been suggested that I charge the perpetrators of that noose hanging incident with a, quote, hate crime, close quote. In Louisiana law, a hate crime, and I put that in quotes, exists primarily as a sentencing enhancement to other crimes that have been proven. There is a specific listing in the Louisiana section on hate crimes that have to be proven before the hate crime statute takes place or kicks in. Similarly, the U.S. attorney searched the federal statutes for a crime with which to charge these people, but he too had to accept the fact, as I did, that there was none that could be prosecuted. But again, I cannot overemphasize what a villainous act I believe that was. The people who did it should be ashamed of themselves and mortified at the havoc that they have unleashed on this community. As to the incident in which Justin Barker was blindsided with no chance to defend himself, this has been frequently characterized as a, quote, schoolyard fight, close quote. This was no schoolyard fight. To call it that creates the sort of boys will be boys image that is simply not correct. All of the evidence was that Justin walked out of the gymnasium door. He was punched in the head by Michael Bell and rendered unconscious. As he lay on the ground, unaware of even what was happening, he was kicked repeatedly and brutally by several people. Only the intervention of an uninvolved student prevented him from suffering even more serious injury or even death. Please, ladies and gentlemen, do not forget that there was a real victim in this incident. And to continue to refer to this as a, quote, schoolyard fight, close quote, is to intentionally mislead the public. The last point I want to make is that in all of the telling of this story, a direct linkage is made between the incident of those nooses and this attack on Justin Barker. When this case was brought to me, and during our investigation and during the trial, there was no such linkage ever suggested. The notion that there was an unbroken series of events that began with the hanging of the nooses and culminated in the attack at this school was never presented. This compact storyline has only been suggested after the fact. Finally, concerning my decision as to whether to take this case to the Louisiana Supreme Court, I have not yet decided. The Third Circuit Court of Appeals ruling only came down last Friday. I have not had time to carefully review that opinion, review the facts, and review the law. I wish I could tell you what I will do right now, but as I stand here today, I simply do not know the answer to that question. And now, ladies and gentlemen, with that said, I will try to answer some of your questions.
You have less than 13 days.
Hold on. One at a time, please.
Thank you very much. Afro-American newspaper, second oldest black newspaper in the country, sir. There's been some discussion that you were going to let Michael Bell, dismiss Michael Bell's charges and let him go or something. What's been all the discussion today?
There have been no discussions.
The attorney and Dallas Harper.
There have been no discussions of that nature.
Can you explain explain why he's still in jail right now?
He is currently charged. The Court of Appeals opinion is as it is, and he is under the charges that are currently lodged.
As I understand, those 2 convictions were dropped, so why is he still...
That is inaccurate.
Why are you trying to end these kids' lives with a stroke of your pen?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
Why are you trying to end these kids' lives with a stroke of your pen?
Okay, what you're referring to is an incident that took place at Jena High School. Quite simply putting it, I was asked to go to the high school to help address a situation that was occurring. I went to try to help. The students were becoming somewhat unattentive, I think is the best way to say. Quite frankly, I got a little frustrated. I was never threatening anyone. There was no singling out of any group. There was no threats made.
Will the protest tomorrow change the way you handle this case?
Our judicial system is based upon justice being blind. Surely no one would want me to base a prosecutorial decision, nor would any court of law want to make a decision based upon things that are outside the courtroom. No.
It has been
Let me
widely
ask you a quick
reported that
question. As you stand here today and you kind of look back on this, what would you have done different to possibly avoid some of the national, international media pressure, some of the scrutiny that you've been coming under, this family's come under, your office has come under, the police department has come under, the school board's come under? You've made some steps that I'm sure you're not really certain about. What would you have done differently now that you have a little time to reflect back on some of the missteps or, let's say, questionable steps that were taken to get this case where it is now?
First, I disagree that there were any missteps. Perhaps better public relations.
Hey, sir, I'm an
Wait a minute.
Why wasn't
principal.
the boy
Wait a minute.
I'm an assistant principal for discipline, sir.
Agree with me that there's a lot of prosecutorial misconduct in this country when it concerns black individuals? Because I know the 13th Amendment said they abolished slavery, but its quote said, neither slavery nor involuntary servitude itself, where a person has been duly convicted of a crime, shall exist in the United States or any country subject to its jurisdiction. At that time, the Ku Klux Klan organization...
Okay, let me answer your question.
All right,
I do not know. All right, let me answer your question. I do not know about other aspects of the question.
Dozens of these type cases. No kids was prosecuted as an assistant.
I do not know about other areas of the country. I know there's been no prosecutorial misconduct here.
Mr. Walters, you said that you thought that the white kids who hung the nooses did something abhorrent and terrible. Isn't it correct that you called one of those 3 Jews as a prosecution witness against Michael Bell? And if so, why did you do that if you thought his actions were so abhorrent?
He was a witness to this crime.
Can you explain how, it's obviously been widely reported that those 2 convictions were dropped, and you're saying that's not true. Can you clarify that?
When you say dropped, that means something totally different to me. Yes, okay.
Can you explain legally again why he is still in jail? Will he remain in jail until you decide how to proceed, or can you explain that?
No, I cannot, because it is now back in the juvenile system, the juvenile aspect, and I cannot comment on juvenile proceedings.
Why did you charge him as adults in the first place?
I'm sorry?
What are the charges exactly against him now?
As the aggravated second-degree battery and conspiracy to commit aggravated second-degree
Why did
battery.
you charge him as an adult?
Because of my perception or my understanding of what the facts were. In this case, Justin Barker was kicked while he was lying unconscious. Had it not been for the intervention of a non-interested, disinterested student, I really well believe that Justin Barker would not be standing here with us today. He would have been dead or very, very, very seriously injured.
But why did you charge him as an adult? Why did you charge him as an adult?
Okay, hold on.
Question, why did you charge him as an adult?
Let me answer this question. Because 4 of the 5 individuals who were charged as adults were adults already. They could not go into the the juvenile justice system. They had to go into the adult justice system. The 5th defendant that was charged as an adult, I looked because I felt like the facts showed that he was the instigator of this attack, and given his previous criminal history, I felt like that was the appropriate thing to do.
What about the
I have
possum
a,
point
excuse me,
beating? Are
excuse
you
me,
going
I
to
have a
charge
question.
anyone with that?
I have a
I'm
question,
sorry.
sir.
The possum point beating, I understand there was an all-white party and a mixed race kid got beaten up with brass knuckles, which is a weapon. Are you going to charge anyone in that?
I'm not familiar with, nor has a Possum Point incident been brought to my office.
Okay.
D.A. Reed, I have a question, sir. Do you believe that you can take
Okay,
away
ladies and
somebody's
gentlemen.
life with the stroke of a pen?
Obviously, whoops, sorry. Obviously, it looks as if.
Do you believe that you can take
Hold it.
away someone's life with the stroke of a
Okay,
pen?
it looks as if we're getting out of control. So, I thank y'all for your no. I thank you for your time and your courtesies. I appreciate it.
Barker, do you guys have any